Welcome to the Clear to Send podcast, a podcast about wireless engineering, where we educate you on Wi-Fi technology, talk about design tips, troubleshooting, interviews, and the tools. Here are your hosts, Roel and Francois.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Clear to Send podcast. We have a special episode here because we have our co-host Francois and our special guest who has been on the show before, Jussi from Ekahau. How are you doing, Jussi?
How are you guys? It's good to be back. Thank you so much for having me. And I don't know if I said this last time, but huge congratulations on the exploding success of the show. Hats off.
Thank you. And Francois, how are you doing today?
I'm very good. Thank you, Roel. Hi, guys.
It's great to be together here on this episode because previously on Clear to Send, we've had Jussi many times before.
Good question. So mostly it's trade shows and chilling by the pool. At the company, my business card says senior vice president, but I think it's just a fancy title for janitor or a guy that tries to stay away from people's way. I think I said the same last time.
Me drawing poop emojis on the whiteboard.
We've had him on episode 142. Which is good. They were very good discussions. We talked about the Ekahau acquisition. When it was announced, I think we literally had brunch 20 minutes after the announcement, Jussi, you and I.
I recall that, yeah, at your favorite restaurant in Palo Alto.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was your favorite restaurant.
Dude.
It was a good brunch, I will say. You were also on episode number 69. We again talked about Ekahau again. And then very, very early on in the show, it was episode number 9, where I think you and I did a walking episode and we were drinking beers in Santa Clara. Right. So that was a good time. And then not too long ago, maybe almost a year ago, Francois interviewed you about the origins of the Ekahau hat. And we actually did that one in video, and that one was interesting. So we'll add a link to that in the show notes. But Absolutely. You've been on this show many times, probably the most anyone else has been on the show. And we always have great conversations.
We do. Thanks, Roel and Francois, for those. And I also was there on 109, I believe, episode 109, when we talked about, remember, Finnish rap, spectrum analysis.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Ekahau Sidekick, and I think we had was it George Stefan?
We had
Sam
George and Sam Clements. Yes, I remember that one. The Finnish rap, which was really interesting. You used the Sidekick to play Finnish rap over airwaves.
Something like that. yeah, at the Palo Alto co-working space. Good times anyway.
Yeah, and that's why we're on now, right? This new announcement you have here is converting music to Spectrum sounds, right?
Yeah, it's finally become a product, a Wi-Fi survey device that also plays Finnish rap. We're so proud of this accomplishment, 5 years in the making. Finally, we could get the, 44.1 kilohertz output just right.
All kidding aside, it's great to have you here because you do have a lot to talk about. But first, we want to go back a little about the acquisition. What has happened since the acquisition, and how have things changed? What can people expect now that you guys have been fully onboarded there with Ookla?
That's a really good question, and technically the owner is Ziff Davis, which is kind of the parent company of everything except Ziff Davis is owned by J2. Fun fact, but all of that corporate stuff aside, it's been good. I mean, still every day I'm in Helsinki, I come to the office. I still see Mikko, I still see Tommy, I still see all the awesome guys, I still see Hanele, and come here to work with the people I care about, and we do awesome things. So maybe it's because we're in Helsinki, but you know, looking at this, very, very little has changed. And also, like, same goes to overseas. Like, I still work with the people I love there as well, like Jerry and Joel and Clayton and Grant and Nick and everybody. It's the same guys. And to me, like, it's the people and the culture that make the company. And you know, still there. What can I say? But again,
yeah.
it's still considered honeymoon. It's like 6 months from then. So ask me again in another 6 to 12 months, and you know, who knows? But that's a good question.
So that's actually very interesting. And I remember listening to an audiobook, and they were talking about, you know, company culture, and they said exactly what you said. You know, if you want to have success, you need to make sure, you know, the culture is strong. And the first company that came to mind for me was Ekahau. And like, you know, the culture is obviously great, the people are great, and they feel like they enjoy working for that company. Circling back on the same question, what does it mean in terms of product development? Like, do you guys find yourself asking new questions in terms of, you know, new features that could be included in your software? Do you have new ideas now that you have, you know, Ookla, and then they're bringing other type of data to the table? Or do you just stay on the same track and on the same roadmap?
That's a good question as well, Francois. And first of all, thank you for the kind words about the culture. We really put a lot of effort in fostering it and take a lot of pride for that. So I'm glad people notice. But the same could be said about the entire Wi-Fi community and what you guys do here and stuff like that. I think the culture of the entire community is pretty special. For what I've heard, there's no, you know, the routing and switching or the data center folks, they don't have this kind of a community culture, you know, on a larger scale either. But yeah, to circle back to your question, yes, there's different kind of ideas internally and externally bounced around now that people have heard that, you know, we have connections to Ookla and other companies. That certainly sparks interest of external parties as well as internal. But I mean, we work on a pretty long-term roadmap and product strategy here, to be honest. So, and that's why we're here. And this may be a good segue to like the meat on the bones of today's big announcement. So, how should I put this? So you ask about the roadmap, and the roadmaps change for us. Like, small things can be implemented pretty quickly. I hope you can see that from the Wi-Fi community and you guys being beta testers and stuff like that. We can turn around and fix bugs and do minor cosmetic things and even semi-minor feature additions fairly rapidly here at Ekahau, and that's good. However, if we look at the long-term product strategy in terms of like product portfolio and the roadmap for that, things like that, I think we started crafting this product portfolio. It was pretty well nailed down already. That's released today. It was already nailed down in 2015. And I was just looking at some of the slides with a colleague back in Russia a couple of weeks ago from 2015. And already then all the pieces of this puzzle were there on those PowerPoint slides that we had presented then. So you know, when you talk about product portfolio and you know, strategic vision of the product, that's been there for good 4 years. That's you know, for the solution that's announced today.
Okay, perfect. So you're saying that it didn't affect, it's not going to affect the product line like right away, but maybe in the long run, it might have an effect on what Ekahau will be providing?
Absolutely. And okay. It's also like small things versus big things, but certainly I'm hoping we will see some small things with regards to that fairly soon. But you know, if you talk about wider portfolio changes, then you know, that's a different story.
And there hasn't been an immediate impact to how you develop these projects and how you go through the roadmap. And as me and Francois have been beta testers, and I will admit I have not been the best beta tester. I have been, but I have tested it.
We still love you, Rowell.
I will say, with all the interaction you get from your beta testers, there are quite a few. You guys are very quick to respond to everyone's comments, everyone's concerns, any type of bug that they may have encountered. You guys turn it around pretty quickly. And for the community out there who have Ekahau or are thinking about getting Ekahau, Ekahau's been using the power of a lot of the community members, a lot of the people that are well known in this industry, to make this product even better. So I think that says a lot as well when it comes to the development of Ekahau itself.
And it also speaks a lot about the community. I mean, we had hundreds of beta testers for the products that are announced today, and it was just a pretty fantastic, almost surreal experience when you know, people really take ownership and they care about the product line, and they provide us their unfiltered, honest feedback, you know, what's good and what needs to be changed and things like that. And especially when we're not just adding products, but we're actually you know, making significant usability changes in the workhorse product that these guys use on a daily basis to make a living. Like Ekahau Survey, which is now called Ekahau Pro, has undergone, you know, so many user interface changes that, you know, there's just been a lot of good, excellent debate on you know, how the changes are being seen, how the improvements are working, all this kind of stuff. So it's been pretty phenomenal. And I have to say, like, the guys who really do the actual work in the company, like Jerry has been hosting the beta program under Mikko's you know, supervision, and then Tommy and the entire R&D team has just, yeah, I agree, it's been a fantastic, like, turnaround time, and you know, if it's been a critical thing to fix, it hasn't taken many hours to fix that and stuff like that. So it's been a good experience. And for us, you know, we've never done such a big product release, but then again, we've never done such a huge beta program either. So I think it goes well hand in hand.
So let's talk about the product. What are you guys announcing today?
So, sorry, just unmuting my mic. So we're announcing 5 things total today, I think. The first one being Ekahau Pro 10, which replaces Ekahau Survey Pro 9.x. And that's the workhorse product. That's what people use today already. That's the flagship tool. And it has several, you know, pretty significant or really significant improvements. Like, the user interface has been completely rewritten. I don't know how many hundreds of lines of code have been rewritten, like everywhere in the product. The user experience is just a lot smoother. I'm sure you guys may have tried it, but you know, on Windows it's a really game-changing experience, and on Mac it's almost unbelievable how smooth the product is now to use. It's faster. It supports 802.11ax or Wi-Fi 6. Which one are you supposed to say these days? Let's say Wi-Fi 6.
I have to say it both now.
Yeah, exactly. Wi-Fi 6ax. It supports Wi-Fi 6ax and you know, interference detection on the Sidekick spectrum analyzer. So as you walk around, do your survey, the tool will automatically detect the interfering sources or certain interfering sources, and even place them on the map and show their impact areas, things like that. That's a big feature for us, for sure. The new access point list, you know, the list is almost endless. Faster heat map calculation, a ton faster survey heat map calculation, and faster on predictive as well. There's so many things, but I think, like, after having used this Pro 10 tool for, I don't know, the last 3 months, I've used the refreshed user interface. It's just so unbelievable, the difference when you demo the product or when you use the product in field. We've done like actual surveys, like production surveys on trade show floors and hospitals and things like that, to assist our partners who actually do this for a living, and just the difference is so significant. So in addition to that, we are unlocking some new things on the Sidekick as well today. So again, for those that don't know, our current or the past flagship portfolio was Sidekick, the Wi-Fi measurement device, which has kind of become the industry standard for Wi-Fi measurement, and then the Ekahau Pro software. So for the Sidekick, we are unlocking the 128 gigabyte storage, which has always been there. We just haven't unlocked it. So now you can safely, securely store your files in the Sidekick. Even if your laptop breaks, the files can still reside on the Sidekick. Think of it as the world's biggest thumb drive, if you will.
Yeah, that's a big.
But it's not just that. It's the interference detection, obviously, has to do with Sidekick. If it wasn't for the granularity and fast sweeps of the Sidekick, we could never do such good interference detection and analysis. And then, of course, Wi-Fi 6. So even with today's Sidekicks, you're fully good to go with Wi-Fi 6 802.11ax site surveys as well, as long as you're using Ekahau Pro 10 for these features. But it's a pretty significant thing even for the existing products. But then there's the new stuff.
Yeah, because you said 5 new products, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
we've only touched
talked
upon
about Ekahau Pro and the new feature on the Sidekick. What's the new stuff?
So the new stuff. This has been in the works for very long. So Sidekick was just the first step of the puzzle. It just happened to finish first, and it made sense for us to launch it first as well, to connect with the laptop. But already those 4 or 5 years ago, we started figuring out that, hey, people don't necessarily want to carry laptops as they are walking. It seemed like a bit inconvenient form factor for some people. Some people love that, don't get me wrong, but a few, or a good amount of people were a bit struggling with the laptop, whether it was the lack of power, whether it was like kind of inconvenient carrying position, whether they were heavy, you name it. And I was one of those people, and we had several here as well. So we were like, yeah, and actually there's this thing called iPad that just doesn't seem to be going away. So maybe we should actually, see if it made sense to carry that device instead of the laptop. And it turned out pretty quickly as we were walking around with those iPads that, it's actually really convenient to carry this thing, plot your location on the map with your finger or a pen, and then, wear the Sidekick. As you know, our Sidekick device is typically worn on a strap. So we started building off of that, and today we're announcing Ekahau Survey for iPad, which is, we claim it's the world's simplest and fastest site survey application. Really simple usage. You just plug the iPad using a standard, let's say USB-C to micro USB cable to the Sidekick, and there you go. You can start surveying. And it's been designed so that it's easy enough for anyone pretty much to take that combination of devices, the iPad and the Sidekick, and just start collecting data. It will not make them Wi-Fi experts. It will not make them even like, let's say, AP on a stick surveyors, for sure, no. But anyone can take that device and start collecting Wi-Fi measurements in a professional way, given that Sidekick is standardized, it's professional stuff like that. So that's a pretty big deal for us, and it works.
That's a huge improvement for anyone with Ekahau workflow, being able to train somebody in doing a survey. And just to emphasize, it is for collecting survey data. There's no design aspects to this, correct? It's just to collect survey data.
Precisely. Yeah. Not a design tool. Ekahau Pro is the kind of the design tool, but this is a part of the design toolkit. So I would see 2 typical use case scenarios for this. The Wi-Fi experts, I would expect, and what we've seen, will love this iPad tool for the lightweightness and the almost infinite battery life, or like a truly full day battery life, and just the weight, the battery life, how awesome it is to use, how precise it is, how fast it is. Some people like the pen, some people like the thing, the touch screen with the finger kind of an approach, but either way, for Wi-Fi experts, I think it just makes life so much easier, more manageable. But then for those novice users, they can, let's just say that you need to, as a Wi-Fi expert, you need somebody to perform a Wi-Fi health check at your customer, just to understand the current state of the environment and whether you need to deploy a whole refresh of APs or maybe just move or add some. Maybe you could have somebody, an IT person there, just collect the data. Even if he doesn't have too much Wi-Fi experience, he can collect the data for you. Then you can just analyze that data, see, actually these things should be fixed, and you need to refresh your equipment here, and here, and there you go. So I'm kind of envisioning and hoping that there will be less travel. Like the Wi-Fi experts would be sitting on a plane less, and they would be doing actual Wi-Fi design and optimization work more, because some of this data collection, whether it's health check or an urgent need for troubleshooting in a certain area, then those guys, the IT guys can collect the data, and then the Wi-Fi expert, instead of sitting in an economy class seat or a business, even if it's a business class seat, you still have sucky Wi-Fi, I believe, on the plane. So, and it's still wasted time for the Wi-Fi experts. Of course, sometimes you need to go on site, and often you need to go on site if you're doing, really careful design work, stuff like that. There's no going away from that. But in many cases, going on site could be, eliminated if there was somebody there to capture that data.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and I have to agree on the ease of use. Like I've used the application part of the beta testing project, and the ease of use was crazy for me. Like I kept on telling myself, a kid could do this. You just connect the Sidekick power on, and then you click on the map. You wait 5 seconds. You have a timer that tells you to wait 5 seconds, and then you move on to the next location. And if you do stop and go, it's very, very easy. Even if you do continuous. So it's the ease of use is for me it's huge. Also, like simple stuff like zooming in and out. It's not as convenient on the full-on laptop application, but like on the iPad, you just use your fingers and it's super fast. And that little ease of use, it just makes a survey so much more enjoyable.
It really does. It really does. And I'm glad you pointed that out, the ease of use. So we were at a warehouse customer, let's say a couple of months ago, and we had the iPad solution there. And I needed to go somewhere, so I left the iPad and the Sidekick to an IT person there. That was a really good IT person, but he had never used any Wi-Fi tools. And I gave him the iPad and said, hey, here, it's a coloring book. Now go fill it. And it had the map of the area. And then he just started tapping stop and go points on the map. And, I come back 5 minutes later and he's there walking and having fun with it. And I had problems like getting that device back from him, because he actually was enjoying it and he started understanding Wi-Fi at the same time. So he was collecting data, filling the coloring book. He was looking at the heat maps. Hey, yeah, it's actually placing my access points, and I can look at per AP coverage, and I can see all the SSIDs, that kind of stuff. The other thing we did, because you said it's easy enough for a kid to use it, we have actually had 10-year-old kids of employees here try out the tool and train them in record time to perform, data collection themselves as well.
Okay. I do want to go back to the coloring book analogy, just in case somebody who doesn't understand what you're referring to. Is because the floor plan, you have a blank floor plan, or it's not blank, it's got the walls, the outlines of the rooms and all that, but it's essentially just black and white. And as you do the survey, you're going to start coloring it in with the survey data points and the signal strength. And so that's what Jussi's referring to as coloring the book.
All right, so we talked about Ekahau Pro, new feature of the Sidekick, the Ekahau Survey for iPad. What else? What do you do once you're done surveying?
So that was the other thing, right? So some random IT research said that one of the biggest problems IT people face is the lack of collaboration between team members. And there's actually truth to that. 90% know, 90% of people know that 80% of statistics are false. But there is truth to that lack of collaboration. So sending those files back and forth could become a pain between the IT guy and the Wi-Fi pro. So we implemented a cloud collaboration solution, which allows people to, share the project files pretty much automatically. So on the iPad, you don't even have a save button. You just, go back to the projects list and it automatically stores the project either on the Sidekick if you've chosen local mode, which is the default, or to the cloud. It just puts it to the cloud, snap of a finger, and there you go. So if you're using the cloud-based solution, it's the engineer collects the data, is done with the data, then the Wi-Fi expert at the back office can just open that file with Ekahau Pro and examine what was there, go survey this place a bit more. They can exchange notes on the project file, things like that. That's one scenario is like, let's say one expert, several on-site IT guys collecting the data. That's one that might open some new business opportunities for example, systems integrators. The other one is Wi-Fi experts can also utilize this in a lot of ways. First of all, the cloud is a pretty awesome file storage, safe and secure auto-save system. So, even if you, and I use this analogy a lot because it can happen. Even if you're surveying with your iPad and then you drop that iPad on a pit of molten lava, even in that case, if you drop the iPad and Sidekick, it's still safe in your cloud. The data is still there thanks to the cloud solution. So, whatever happens, your files are safely stored there. And same goes for the Sidekick, by the way, as well. If you don't use the cloud, the iPad can automatically keep saving it to the Sidekick. So even if your iPad completely breaks down, that's fine. The data is still there on the Sidekick's SD card. So that's a pretty awesome value statement. But also the cloud solution, like we were surveying, there was 8 of us surveying the largest trade center in Finland. It's Finland, it's a small country, but the trade show center is pretty big. So it was 8 of us. It took like 30 minutes per person to survey because we were able to see in close to real time where everybody else has surveyed. So we didn't go twice. We didn't need to pre-plan it at all. We just started surveying, just walked to different parts of the building, and we could see like, okay, these guys have already been here. I don't need to do that section, or I don't need to do that hall. Instead of like merging everything manually at the very end, we could keep track of each other's progress in not real time, but close to real time.
It merges it automatically for you.
Yeah, man, it does. So let's say that one expert guy can share with his laptop. He can just, create a project file, share it on the cloud to 8 surveyors, and there they go. They automatically see that in their iPads, and they can start surveying, filling the coloring book.
And when you're doing the survey, does it save it simultaneously to the Sidekick and also upload it to the cloud?
It's either or. So if you don't use the cloud, it will use Sidekick.
Okay.
And now is the time when Mikko or Tommy or someone can prove me wrong and say, no, you see, it's actually, you can do both at the same time. And that just may be the case. But I believe it's either or in the first version.
Okay. Well, that's new. It's a good way to collaborate with others on a project. Like you said, either if you have a team of people, or maybe you want to ask somebody a question. Like if me and I want to ask Francois a question on the survey I did, I could share it with him and he could look at it, add comments, whatever. Instead of transferring a file back and forth, a large file that we need to use some sort of file sharing program, we could just use the Ekahau Cloud, give permissions, and just hit the ground running.
Yeah, exactly. And then all your projects will be there, and they will be sorted by, which one was last used or touched. So it's just a super convenient way of also keeping track of those. Mind you, you can as easily do pretty much all of what we said with the offline Sidekick collaboration as well. So even if you decide not to use cloud, it's not like I'm missing out. No, you're not. Everything is still at your disposal. It's just going to be local and not cloud-based.
Okay.
So with the cloud, how does it work? Like, do you share the project from the iPad application or from the Ekahau Pro, or do you have a website that you go to and share project files and stuff like that?
That's a really good question. For sharing the project files, you create the project file with Ekahau Pro, and you put that in the cloud. And if you want to share it to people, there's a simple cloud front end or web browser based front end to the cloud where you can, see your project, see your basic stats, and share those projects with anyone just by typing their email address. It's super simple.
All right. So, and then we still have one piece, right?
We do have one more piece. So when we announced the Sidekick, and then a couple of weeks after that, when was it? 17? Yeah, 2017, late 2017. A couple of weeks after is the CWNP conference, and we got several black eyes. We got bombarded by those violent Wi-Fi people, and they just beat us to hospital condition. Story may be exaggerated. Hospital may not have happened. No beating happened. But yeah, so we got a lot of feedback regarding the lack of packet capture for Sidekick, because people realized that, hey, it's essentially a small computer with awesome Wi-Fi radios and a spectrum analyzer. So why are you guys not having it do packet capture? Well, we took that feedback, and so we decided to add the packet capture tool as a part of the opening portfolio of the Ekahau Connect solution. So we teamed up internally and then with Adrian Granadas and just made a super simple packet capture tool. And I think there's kind of the value statement for this, if you don't mind my marketing spiel here. The value statement of the product. How should I put it differently? The real benefit of the capture application for Sidekick. Well, there's many, but I think one of the key things is when stuff really badly breaks somewhere, Peter McKenzie or Francois or Rowell need to fly on site to solve that problem. So that may just mean that Peter McKenzie flies to Utah from London to troubleshoot a packet-related problem that can only be diagnosed with a packet analyzer. And here's the challenge we saw. The traditional packet analyzers, while they are like really, really good at what they do, OmniPeak and all those products, really, really solid, good packet analyzers, we saw that maybe somebody else could capture that data and then somebody else could analyze that data. And we looked at the market and we didn't find an easy way to just capture packets so that same IT guy who now can collect Wi-Fi measurements, maybe he could also capture the packets and send those off to Peter. And then Peter or Rowell or Francois, in their infinite wisdom, using their, killer OmniPeak skills that they learned from Jay Botello, maybe they could, take a look at those files and then, dig into them and solve those problems without, again, having to travel on site. I don't know. Does that make sense? Because that's kind of nobody had really asked for that kind of a scenario or like described that scenario for us. But when we started talking about it, and Peter McKenzie helped a great deal with this, so he also like chipped in on the development and brainstorming of this tool, we saw that, maybe this actually makes sense to separate the capture from the analysis. Separate the person capturing, not always. I'm sure that most of the Wi-Fi professionals, most of the use of this product will be for Wi-Fi professionals, but maybe somebody somewhere will find a way to, separate these tasks so that, he doesn't have to fly on site. This is the awesomest packet capture tool for Wi-Fi pros, but it's also something that a non-Wi-Fi guru can use for capturing data. It doesn't solve any problems. It does make sense
to me because it might not solve any problems, but it does make it more efficient to get that data, right? So if you have a user that's already doing the survey work for you, they're uploading that survey to the cloud, you're analyzing the results, and then you see something that might not be right, or maybe they're saying there's some sort of issue. You could have that same user then do the packet capture for you, right, using the tool. And I've tested it out before. It's super simple. There's no way to make a mistake using this tool. You simply select the channel or channels that you want to do a packet capture on. It collects it and then saves that PCAT file, which then they could send it over to you for analysis. So I do see the efficiency there. I like the multi-channel capture capability. I think that's a big plus because if you're like me, I use my Mac all the time to do packet captures. But let's say I wanted to capture a roam, I might not necessarily capture all those packets. So I think the Sidekick would be much more powerful and much more convenient way of doing that.
Yeah, exactly. The dual simultaneous radios capturing. Roaming is one. Let's say you have a problematic AP and you want to listen on both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz radios of that AP. But isolated roaming environments. And in general, I mean, you're just capturing more. Even if you're dwelling through channels, you're capturing twice more. You have twice the likelihood of catching that problem, even if you're, cycling through different channels as well. But I think the revolution is twofold. For experts, it's just, it makes sense to use that tool for that. It's the dual radio. And then for those that want to change their workflows, it's the unquestionable ease of use so that you can give it for anyone. Think of it like, here's how I see it. Hashtag long monologue starting. I'll try to keep this in 1 + 1 minute. So couple of things out of which I already forgot the other. So one thing, there's a gap, huge gap we have seen in the industry. There's the Wi-Fi experts on one side, safely in there, and there's a lot of them, but there absolutely should be more. And then on the other side, there's everybody else, and they're possibly problematic Wi-Fi that's hard to resolve and stuff like that. And that gap just seems to be widening because there's more and more Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi is getting more and more critical for everybody. So if I don't see the number of Wi-Fi experts exponentially exploding, unfortunately. The CWNE and Cisco and everybody's doing a really good job at training more and more Wi-Fi experts, but still the gap is getting bigger and bigger, and we just felt like we needed to do something about that gap, to fill the gap, start filling the gap, and that gap to us can be filled by exactly building a bridge. So building a bridge meaning that we're building a foundation or a toolkit which allows collaboration, and we see collaboration as the bridge between the divide, or bridge over troubled water.
No, I will.
And at the end of the webinar, sorry, Roel, you did promise to sing "Bridge Over Troubled Water," didn't you? I really appreciate it, and we will take you up.
I think we might lose a lot of listeners if that happens.
I think you might gain a dramatic amount if you did that.
We'll see. I will agree that the bridging that gap, you guys are definitely doing that because you have a tool that has so much capability that can be used by both an expert and a non-expert, right? The different levels of these tools, different ways of collaborating together in one end goal, which is to make Wi-Fi better. So I think you guys are actually bridging that gap, because I've seen many tools where only an expert can use that tool because it is super complicated. There's a lot of knobs that you need to understand as an expert. What do those knobs do? Am I going to get the right results if I change any of this? So I think, yeah, you're starting to bridge that gap here with some of the simplicity of these other tools you're introducing as part of Ekahau Connect.
Yeah, thanks. That's really been the kind of one of the key drivers that we noticed like 4 or 5 years ago, and it takes that long, I guess, to make something that works and is easy. But yeah, the ease of use and the usability and all that stuff, it's really hard to measure. But I mean, if somebody had came to you like 12 years ago and said, yeah, so these Nokia phones that have 55% global market share, that they will be destroyed by a much technically inferior product that actually doesn't even have 3G. It kind of sucks technically. It has a decent processor, but even that's not awesome. But that product will destroy totally Nokia from the map in terms of mobile phones. Would you have believed that? And then they would say, so what caused that? Or what will cause that? Usability, it's really easy to use. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would have bought that 12 years ago, but I think like Apple, they just changed everything. And that's kind of the path we are on as well. It's just everything just has to be simpler. If we don't do that, somebody else will.
Yeah.
So
okay.
for the capture tool, sorry, Raul, I just wanted to clarify. So for the capture tool, it's an additional application, right, that you install on your laptop, and then if you have a Sidekick, you're able to leverage the Wi-Fi NICs inside the Sidekick to do Wi-Fi packet captures.
Absolutely. Right. That's absolutely right. And that's a good clarification, Francois. Not everybody necessarily knows what we are talking about. But yeah, it's a Mac/Windows application. You open it, you connect your Sidekick to the laptop. It just asks you which channels to capture on, or all of them by default, and hit capture. At the end of the capture, and this is really important, the capture tool saves PCAP files, and it just saves one out of those two radios. So it combines the PCAP files from both radios into one, and then just downloads them from the Sidekick to your computer automatically to a folder of your desire. And that's it. That's really how simple the tool is.
That's awesome. I feel all these new features, they're really great. But I feel like it's just the beginning of a snowball effect. Like, people will have so many more ideas or features to add to your product. You might be receiving a whole bunch of new feature requests after the release, and then in order to improve it even more. Like, I already want capture on the iPad. If you could do that, I'll be happy.
That's interesting. Question: why would you want it on the iPad?
Okay, I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
One day I was working from Starbucks, and I was like, it was a nice day out, so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna walk to the Starbucks with just my iPad. That's all I need to do my work, and I needed to, do emails, and I needed to write some technical content. So I go to the Starbucks with my iPad, and I have a keyboard attached to it, and I start working my technical content, and I'm like, man, I need to validate that in a packet capture. And I'm like, that would be nice if I could do a packet capture from my iPad. And actually, that exact same day, I remember I sent a DM to Adrian, and I'm like, man, that would be nice if we could do a Wi-Fi packet capture from iOS.
Yeah.
And then, but in that situation, if you have a Sidekick, you connect it, you leverage the NICs in the Sidekick, and you do packet capture right from the Sidekick. And then, I don't know, it would be the first iPad application ever. You like that, right? The marketer inside you, like that?
Yeah.
The first iPad application to do Wi-Fi packet captures.
Absolutely. And I think without commenting future roadmap stuff like that, but I mean, iPad seems to be more and more the field workers, field employees' tool of choice. It's almost like just as we're halfway in transferring, all the industry's Wi-Fi tools to Mac OS. I mean, we did it obviously a few years ago, but the industry still, it's a work in progress in switching to Mac OS, because that's what everybody wants. And now we're facing the same thing with iOS. Now, all of a sudden, people who are out there in the field want to use iOS for all of the field work. So it's an interesting kind of cycle that we're going through. What's next? Like AR glasses? Look forward to that.
You guys working on that next?
Yeah, of course.
What about an Android app?
That's a good question, and we hear that every time when we talk about this. So we are actually doing vice versa. So we are end-of-lifing our survey app for Android because it was using the internal radio, and Android is getting more and more of a closed ecosystem when it comes to Wi-Fi, accessing the Wi-Fi radio. As I'm sure you guys know, with the newer releases of Android, they're kind of shutting down more and more access to the Wi-Fi radio.
iOS for a long time.
Exactly. And now the same thing seems to be happening for Android. And I totally get that. If you accidentally write a bad application or you leave an application running that does Wi-Fi scanning, it's horrible for your NIC or for your Wi-Fi performance on that device. So I can totally see the rationale behind that. I mean, somebody runs a scanner application and then their Wi-Fi doesn't work, and then they complain to like, this Android doesn't really work. I can totally see that. So that's why and we wanted to pick one platform and make it like really, really good. And since we are not in the business of making the least expensive or let alone free apps, we don't do $3 applications. We don't do $2 applications or free, really. So then we figured, okay, iPad actually, they are not that expensive on the grander scheme of things. Sidekick is such a high-end device. Our software is really high-end on the laptop. I think we can get away with just supporting iPad, because usually people buy purpose-built devices anyway, or like they buy a device for this purpose, like for example for surveying. And iPads are not as expensive as most laptops anyway. Plus they have awesome usability, awesome screen real estate. They're always high quality devices, stuff like that. And we learned a few lessons on the Android adventure about how difficult it can be to support a billion different device variants that the size can range from 3 inches to 15 inches and stuff like that. So it's just easier and makes more sense for us to go with iOS instead of Android.
And you could leverage the Sidekick, right? And maybe further develop other applications as you're using Ekahau Survey. I could see that maybe you could take Francois' request and build a Ekahau Capture on iOS that leverages the Sidekick plugged into it, and then store the files on the Sidekick.
Theoretically, anything is possible with a computing device. That's all I can I can say at this point.
Yeah, I have many thoughts in my head. Even spectrum analysis, the Sidekick can do that too.
Yeah, on an iPad. Wow, that's an interesting idea as well.
Yeah, however, my ESS request now.
Exactly, but bear in mind, when you're surveying with the iPad survey app, you're collecting all the same data from the Sidekick as you are with the Ekahau Pro. So you're getting spectrum information. You're getting the information from the two Wi-Fi.
I think some people have made requests in the past to have even the spectrum piece as a separate application. Say if you do need a troubleshoot, because now we're talking about Ekahau being used as more of a troubleshooting tool, right? Where you have this powerful Sidekick and I need to take a look at spectrum. Why don't I use a tool I already have that can do spectrum analysis, just have a separate application that can do spectrum analysis? I think there have been comments made before in the past about that, and maybe it's possible in the future as you guys further along in your roadmap.
Yeah. I mean, Sidekick is that's the thing. When you go through the enormous amount of money and trouble to make this kind of a device, and I'm just astounded by what the engineers did with the Sidekick. You go through all that trouble, then you have a platform using which all of this is possible. It's always independent. You can command the radios with any device you want, and you can pretty much tell the Sidekick to do anything you want when it comes to Wi-Fi analysis. So only the sky is the limit. And I would like to encourage, and I really like your approach, like with the community and develop it further. That's how we made these freaking products. This was made with the feedback from the community, together with the community. You guys chipped in a lot. Rowell and Francois, you guys were among the first guys to ever see, anything we came up with regards to Sidekick, with regards to iPad. We developed with this stuff with you guys and your listeners very, very actively, and that has to continue. And I'd like to make a call for feature requests here. So any requests you have for the future tools, given kind of this is just the first step showing some direction on where things can go. But now it's up to us, by us, I mean the community, to have a discussion on where do we go next. We have some ideas and we have a roadmap, but you guys have a lot better ideas than we here at the Ivory Tower.
Yeah, and then
so can you remind people?
So that's great to tell everyone to put in their comments.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead, Francois. Sorry.
I wanted to ask Jussi to remind everyone how they can send a request, a specific Ekahau request.
So specific Ekahau requests should be directed to nick@ekahau.com. That's nick@ekahau.com. CC Mikko @ekahau.com. MIKKO @ekahau.com. I'm just throwing a curveball their way. Seriously, you can use that. My email is jussi@ekahau.com, jussi@ekahau.com. Jerry's is jerry@ekahau.com. You can if you feel more comfortable talking to any of us, you certainly can. My number is +358 400 859 934. Give me a call. Not US time, Europe office hours, please. But anyway, that's one method. Of course, Twitter, #ESS requests, works really, really well. You can email us, call us, tweet us, LinkedIn us, you name it. All of that. Actually, Nick, the reason I'm saying Nick is because Nick Turner is building an awesome feature portal right now. More about that later, but Nick is doing some fantastic work in kind of syndicating all the feedback to a system that's full of awesomeness and more of the same.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so it's I just wanted you to make the point that it's very easy to communicate with Ekahau if you have a request. Whenever I teach the ECAC class, I always have a whole bunch of ideas, new ideas coming from the students, and I encourage them to just get in touch with you guys directly, via Twitter or via the support email address, or you can even open a ticket on the support website, support.ekahau.com, and it's very easy to do that. Just to send your request, and you'll get an answer. And then you guys have a system internally to classify all the requests, and then I'm guessing the more you ask, the more you're likely to see your feature implemented.
Absolutely. The more you ask, the more likely it is. And we do have an internal filing system which is called the wastebasket. No, I'm kidding. So we have an internal system, and that's we'll have a brand new, better internal system very soon with Nick working on it. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of ways to find us. And hey, Francois, while you mentioned ECSC, you want to talk about what ECSC is and how have you liked the whole experience? So you are what's called an ECSC or ECSC trainer. What is that all about?
Yeah. So ECSC, it's pretty much the certification program that you guys built at Ekahau, and there's a training class. It's a 4-day class, and you learn a lot about how Wi-Fi works, how to design Wi-Fi, and you learn how to use the application to design efficient Wi-Fi networks. And we talk about pretty much all the features that the product is bringing to us engineers. So the designing, the surveying, the spectrum analysis, and it's a very good, a very popular class because it's a theory on how Wi-Fi work, and then you get to practice that in the software with a lot of practical exercises. and it's been a very popular class, and it's been awesome for me as a trainer. I get to meet a lot of some of your customers, and just teaching experience for me is also really great. I like it very much. So thank you for the opportunity, I guess I should say.
Hey, dude, I think we should thank Keith Parsons. I think there's no Wi-Fi webinar where Keith Parsons' name is not mentioned, but Keith has really, kickstarted the whole thing, and it's thanks to Keith and you guys like Blake and Sam and Eddie and all the trainers in there that have made this happen. People want to get trained on Wi-Fi, and if they can do it by by learning from the rock stars, I think it's double the impact. We could have never done anything like that had the training been not led by you guys and Keith.
Yeah, for me, when I teach others, try to transfer passion. More than transferring knowledge, I try to transfer passion, and I think the other guys are doing the same thing. And the students can see the passion we have for the technology, and it's even more engaging for them.
And it's contagious. That passion is so contagious, and that's exactly what we see as well. Like people come out from your guys' classes, and they are just like they've seen a UFO or something. They're just wow. It is unbelievable.
It is one of the better classes to take. And this is coming from someone who has taken ECSE. You have trainers who are experienced, who are out there in the field doing Wi-Fi. They still do Wi-Fi, and then they're taking their time when they're not working on Wi-Fi to train others on how to do Wi-Fi. And it's what's good about ECSC is that it includes the at least a small portion of it. It's not like a big boot camp, but you're going to get some Wi-Fi knowledge out of it, and then you dive into Ekahau, because you do need the Wi-Fi knowledge in order to use Ekahau. So that's why that's included in the ECSE course.
That's a good point. It's taught by guys who actually live and breathe those same Wi-Fi challenges every day. They practice what they preach. They take time off to do the trainings, and their regular work is Wi-Fi. I'm just gonna write down what Francois. Listen to this. I'm gonna write down transferring the passion. That's really, really good. I will so steal that, if you don't mind, and use that in a future slide deck and presentations that I do about, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm a huge fan of this evangelist and influencer marketing and blah, blah, blah. And this, I've never heard anybody say it so well. It's transferring the passion. Thank you.
So is that my new career in marketing starting today?
I guess so. I'm hearing a marketer kind of,
a marketing angel got their wings.
Yeah.
There's one thing that we haven't talked about yet, you see, with Ekahau Connect and the suite of products that's included, right? So you got Ekahau Pro, you've got these new features on the Sidekick that you're unlocking. You have the Ekahau Survey iPad application, the Ekahau Cloud, the Ekahau Capture. How does one who has Ekahau already move to this version? Is it just an upgrade, like a regular update to Ekahau, or is there a new licensing that's going to get applied to this? Because this is a big update to Ekahau.
That's a good question. So how does one upgrade? And that's, I should do a better job with my FAQ, but there's a small increase in the annual fee for existing. So let's start with the basics. Let's say you're an existing customer of Ekahau. So you have Ekahau Pro, and maybe you have Ekahau Sidekick as well. In that case, you're good, man. If you have an annual support contract, you can just buy an upgraded support contract for a few $100 extra per year. So it's not that big of a change for you. Only the yearly amount will increase by some hundreds of dollars. And if you don't have a Sidekick yet, I think you need the Sidekick to reap the benefits of this. I mean, the iPad app really doesn't work without the Sidekick. Packet capture really doesn't work without the Sidekick. Interference detection, you need the Sidekick. So if you only have Ekahau Pro, now's the last time to upgrade for the Sidekick, in a sense that, that's called Connect plus Sidekick upgrade. So you just upgrade your support contract. That's again a few $100, and then Sidekick is in the US to $5 less from, or $2,995, I think, is the Sidekick list price in the US. And for new customers, it's gonna be more costly. I don't remember the exact prices, but it's not dramatically different from what it's been before. So there's some price increases here and there, but shouldn't be anything too significant for new customers either. The point being, existing customer got a Sidekick, few $100 extra per year gives you all this goodness: iPad, cloud, packet capture, and hey, let's throw in a bonus. Joel Crane, you may know Joel Crane. He used to work at MetaGeek, worked for us for our training for a couple of years now, one or 2 years. The most awesome guy in the Wi-Fi community, CWNE, really knowledgeable, really likable guy, has made an awesome set of training video material on how to harness the Connect, how to understand the Connect, how to use it, how to use the iPad app, how to use all the pieces of the Connect solution. And that's all of those training videos. They're short training videos or semi-long training videos. They get you started with the Connect, and those are for free for anyone who gets the Connect package. So that's just one more reason to get there. And it's like a really good crash course into how our stuff works, and then it's a really, really good transition. So your next step then after that should be an ECSE to really start understanding Wi-Fi and the products in a more detail.
Awesome.
So let's take an example. Let's say you've just renewed your support contract for 3 years. So today, you're saying today, as April 9th, we can download the new Ekahau Pro and start using it, no problem?
Mm-hmm. Pro, absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely. So that's actually a really good question. If you have let's say yesterday you bought 3 years, absolutely, you still get all the updates to Ekahau Pro. The fact that we just dropped a couple of letters off of the name doesn't mean that we would be, doing you a disservice and discontinuing your support. We don't want to be those guys.
Okay.
You need to pay extra for the iPad cloud capture and the training videos.
Okay. So they'll have like a SKU just for that upgrade. Right?
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
Really good question.
So we have a couple of questions from the listeners that we knew we were going to record with you. So we asked them, do you have any questions for UC? And we do have a couple of questions. Some of them you already answered. So we had a question from Dennis Klein. He's like, when will version 10 of ESS be announced, released? So you answered that, right? Version 10 will be released.
Available now,
right? And it's now called Ekahau Pro. So you guys changed the name from ESS to Ekahau Pro.
Yeah, we're simple guys. So we like simple names: Capture, Pro, Survey.
That sounds good. Do you have any funny stories behind finding new names, or you guys just came up with these names like that?
No, it's like surprisingly, although the names are really utilitarian and pretty simple, there was a really long process, and it involved like 20 people trying to scratch our heads and come up with different names. And first we were like really ambitious because we had the name Sidekick. So of course we need to come up with something that works really well with Sidekick. Oh yeah, that's way too hard. So we like Sidekick.
Simple is complex.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the Sidekick then was just left as is. So that's Sidekick, and then let's just figure out like really good utilitarian names for these products. And it was a really a joint effort where the product management, R&D, sales. And especially Nick Turner, I have to mention from our SC side. So he's our technical SC. I'm sure you guys know Nick, and many of the listeners do too. So Nick, actually, I think he was like much ahead of his time. He probably proposed these exact names like 9 months before they were locked down. When we started this conversation, Nick was like, "Yep, they have to be simple. Survey, Pro." And, he just came up with the names, and then 9 months later, like, yeah, that Nick guy was absolutely right. Dead on in every name. So hats off to Nick.
He should have handled the Brexit.
Yeah. I'm not gonna, let's take out my laughter even from that. Not gonna comment that in any way.
Yeah, it's a touchy subject right now.
I guess it is, yeah.
All right.
Any other questions?
So the next question's from, I'm going to butcher this name. Yeah, Juho Kurjavainen. Said, yeah.
All right, here you go.
They're interested in if there could be some automatic protocol analysis features with the Sidekick visualized side by side with the spectrum analysis timeline.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now
that's a good question actually, because I mean, yeah.
Sorry.
I was going to say the Sidekick is listening to the frames, right? So you could also take advantage of that, and then doing some protocol analysis, and then analyzing a little bit more than what we do today.
Interesting. And that
sounds like an ESS request, buddy.
Yeah, man, it really does. It really does. And certainly, since it's like we discussed, the politically correct answer is, since it's possible to do anything with a Sidekick, it's possible to do anything with a Sidekick. And that also means that our roadmap, while undisclosed, has a lot of possibilities. I do apologize for the boring answer, but I just can't comment too much on the future.
No problem.
Future.
I think we know what that means.
That means absolutely not going to happen. Absolutely not. It's a really.
I mean, retry rates, or that would be nice. Or even, you know what? I would like details on the clients. Because Ekahau only shows us details coming from the APIs right now, but I mean, we're listening to the frames. We could also gather data on the clients. So if you use Ekahau to do some troubleshoot, that would be useful. Just saying.
Can you hear the silence? Sure. I'm trying to keep my mouth shut.
He's quietly writing that down on his list.
I'm trying to keep my mouth shut as much as I can.
Okay, so we have another question. Question from Andrew Michael. So any plans for multi-channel packet capture 4+ using the Sidekick version 2 or another Ekahau product piece of magic hardware? So just I think we need to give some background information about this question. Andrew works for Vocera, and those guys are notorious for doing packet captures on many channels at a time. So he's probably trying to make his work easier.
Absolutely. And is Andrew the guy who was at WLPC as well presenting on his...
Yeah, on voice.
Yeah, that was a really, really good presentation. And I really I was blown away by the setup these voice guys have. It's like 10 or 15 USB dongles hooked up to a laptop and a power source. And it's pretty impressive what they do. And I can totally see that they just need to sniff all the channels. We talked with Andrew at the WLPC a couple of times, and I invite Andrew to contact me again. Let's keep in touch. Let's absolutely keep the conversation going. All I can say is our roadmap hasn't come to an end yet, so we are still in the business of developing new products. And Andrew, it would be awesome if we could get more feedback from you. And thank you for the excellent presentation. If you haven't seen it, go to wlandpros.com and search for Andrew's excellent presentation on voice. That was in Phoenix this year.
Yep.
No, that was in Prague, I think. No, Europe. Yeah,
sorry,
it was in
different guy.
It was in Europe. Yeah, you can also find it on YouTube if you search for WLPC Europe 2018, voice over IPO Andrew Michael. You'll find it. That's actually I like your answer, because when you guys came out with the Sidekick, my first question was, why only 2 Wi-Fi NICs? Like, why not 3? Because, you can use 3 external adapters. So I'm guessing it's more like an engineering, process. It's harder for the engineers to put more NICs. But I mean, in the future, if you could put more in the same size, in the same form factor, that would be nice.
I would agree. We figured that 2 is enough for most people, for most purposes. Like it was like for 95% of the people, 95% of the time, 2 is enough. Yeah. And anything extra you add, there's several things, right? It adds to cost, it adds to complexity, it adds to the amount of broken devices, and it especially adds to the drain of the battery. So, there's just a lot of things, and it adds to the R&D time.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you for your answer.
All right,
thanks for the next question.
The next question comes from Landon Foster, and he asks, any plans for a downloadable or web-driven agent that can be placed on a client remotely so that we can get the most basic of data without traveling for troubleshooting?
That's Ookla, no?
Yeah. Speed test absolutely can do some of that. Again, not disclosing any roadmap items, but so for us, the solution today is based on the idea that if something breaks at the site and you can't figure it out from the console, from, let's say, for example, what the APs are seeing, then you probably need to go to the floor level and either do some surveys or do some packet capture. The challenge with agent-based things is, first of all, you need the permission to install agents, and there's the maintenance and stuff like that. But secondly, they are only in certain computers, and we try to provide a holistic, complete, unbiased view of the entire network everywhere with, for example, the survey tool. So it's just a different approach. We are not in the agent game, at least today, but I can't comment too much on the future. Sorry again for the vague answer.
We actually got another question that we don't have here, but I'm going to ask it to you. And I believe it was a very good question because if you look at all the big software companies nowadays, they're all moving to a subscription-based model where you could pay for a month to use the application, or you can pay monthly for a year, and they have different subscription models. And this is actually what I use for like AutoCAD. I don't pay AutoCAD every month. I pay it whenever I need it, and I have an account, and I pay for the month, and I'm free to use it. It's the same with Office 365 or Adobe Connect, or all of these software companies. As Ekahau is growing, do you see the licensing model evolving to a subscription-based model, or did you guys? Are you guys just not even thinking about that yet and just sticking with the licensing model you have today?
So that's a good question. I think we took a step towards that with the Connect, given that there's no upfront charge, for example, for the iPad or the packet capture and stuff like that. So at least we're moving more towards a yearly subscription kind of a thing that includes more stuff. Now, when it comes to further plans on the subscription, that's way above my pay grade. And even if I knew something about, our future plans, I would definitely not be able to comment them in any way, shape, or form. So you would need to ask, guys with different titles on their business cards.
No problem. Yeah,
I'm going 3 out of 3 for vague answers in a row, I think.
It's okay.
Some kind of a bingo.
Maybe you could actually answer this last question then.
I'll do my best.
Dale Tyler asks, what does the recent acquisition by Ookla mean for the Ekahau product line? What does it mean for the consumer?
Excellent question. All I can say is today you saw the first step of where things are going with regards to our product line. And we touched on the whole Ookla thing already before briefly, so I'll just leave it at that. Please try today's announcements, see how they work for you. Reach out to us. We'll be happy to, if you don't have our stuff, we'd be happy to demo and show it to you and discuss it. And was it Dale and who asked this question? So Dale, if you want to talk more about, what's coming up, what you'd like to see, that kind of stuff, that would be a private discussion, but feel free to reach out and let's talk.
I to complement your answer, Jussi, I've heard an interview that you did. I can't remember where, maybe on another podcast. But you said something that stuck to me. You said that Ookla is more a data company, so they collect a whole bunch of data coming from all the people using their app, and then maybe you guys one day could leverage that data to do something. Did I hear that well?
Again, Francois, can you hear the
silence? All right. So
silence. Waiting up, man.
Stop
grilling me with these questions, man.
Okay, we're almost done with the questions. Just to circle back on the last question I asked you, I'm not expecting you to say anything, but I think it would be very valuable for some companies. Sometimes Ekahau is used by like the IT person or the network guy, and then he needs to do Wi-Fi design like once every 6 months. So maybe for them it would be very valuable if you can, purchase it for a month or two and use the software. For guys like me and Roel, I mean, we need it all the time. But for other customers, I think it could be a valuable model for them.
I'm not disagreeing with that, dude. However, in the meanwhile, you can contact Roel, Francois, and everybody else in the systems integration business to, if you have momentary needs, and if you are silly enough not to buy all of our products for your one-time use, then you might want to contact all of these great friends who run these systems integrator MSP companies, such as yourselves, fine gentlemen.
Well, also with Ekahau Connect now, it becomes a little bit more than just a survey or design tool. You also have, you can do troubleshooting and the Sidekick, and also
exactly.
See what you want to do. Yeah,
it's so much more than that. People think that I just need it for the design, but it's like, are you sure, or you want to keep your Wi-Fi working even after it's been built? Yeah, exactly. So do you want the water to be running in your house like the day it's built, or maybe after that as well?
All right. So thank you, Jussi. Thank you for all the new clarification. Congratulations on the new product.
Thank you.
And we do have one more thing.
Of course.
Yeah, go ahead, Roel.
We already got all our questions out of the way, but we do have one more thing. You do have a giveaway for 2 lucky listeners, right? They'll have to go to the show notes. So if you go to cleartosend.net/165, if you can post a comment with a selfie of yourself using Ekahau, either in the funniest way, silly way, something interesting. You could even do this on Twitter as well, or any other social media platform. Just tag us so we can see it. You can win some swag plus a surprise.
Wow, man.
We don't know what that surprise is, but it's a surprise.
And apparently, Roel and Francois will be posting a model picture of the level of craziness that's expected from this.
Yeah, if it involves an iPad and a Sidekick, it's even better.
Exactly.
You get extra points to the surprise.
Yeah.
Wait, they just came out with it. How would they have that?
It's already available for download, my friend.
Yeah. Today's April 9th.
Easy peasy.
All right. So that you can head over to the show notes to get more information on that. But yeah, we're going to have that 2 lucky winners get some cool things from Ekahau. Even Francois and I don't know what that is. Only UC has that information.
Or do I?
Yeah. Is it coming from Helsinki?
I can't tell you that, Francois.
Okay. It's a surprise.
Stop asking the difficult questions, man.
Well, thank you, UC, for vague answers. We appreciate that.
No problem. So next time maybe just let's get a soundboard, that Jussi soundboard that says, I can't really comment on that. Yeah, that's not really public. I can't really say that.
No, but we do appreciate the information that you have provided us on this announcement of Ekahau Connect and all these new products, the Ekahau Pro version 10, the new features on the Sidekick that you're unlocking, Ekahau Survey for the iPad, Ekahau Cloud, Ekahau Capture, and then there's also Ekahau University with Joel Crane providing that content. Where can people find more information now that they've listened to this whole episode? If they made it to the end, where can they go to say, take my money?
For the I love your podcast, but with me being on here for such a long time, if you made it to the end, please tweet to Clear to Send and myself and Roel and Francois with the hashtag I made it this far, and maybe you'll get a special prize as well. But where can you find out more information? Go to our website, ekahau.com. Go on our Twitter @Ekahau. Go on my Twitter @Jussi Kiviniemi. How is that spelled? Kiviniemi. Come again? KI, whatever. Anyway, thank you guys for the awesome podcast. And those good 160 plus episodes you guys have. That's shows some stamina and consistency that you've been able to put out high quality stuff week after week after week.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on the show and helping us publish episodes like this.
Of course, and I'm happy to come for the 18th time anytime.
We'll have to give you a special award for.
Yeah, we have to create a special sticker.
Yeah. Most episodes, least answers. Most episodes, least substance. How about that?
Definitely. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. We hope you found this episode useful, and we look forward to seeing what you guys think about Ekahau Connect and all the new updates that came out. If you guys have any questions, again, reach out on Twitter, on social media, email, whatever fits your guys' fancy. And we hope to see you in the next episode. So thank you guys.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.